while Zan is joining you, I just want to thank you, Pepper, for putting in a marathon day of moderation. That was terrific.
Well, my gosh, brava. Pepper, amazing.
Do I get a snack now?
I think that we've not had a single person bring this off in previous showcases the whole day. It's just quite remarkable that you were able to do it. And you've obviously done your homework. You knew that Rebus got that great round of funding, and you zeroed in on the issues for Rebus, and my gosh, Rebus looks very strong.
Yeah, they do.
I've seen a lot of metabolic therapies, and this is looking very good and very interesting that they're going after FF, which is, I think, another high unmet need. It's not one that you would think of going after as a lead indication.
It's an interesting strategy they take, but clearly when you think about the validation by investors in a very spooked market, it speaks volumes to that they may be exactly where they need to be.
Yeah. Well, great stuff. And so many other exciting companies.
Yes.
I just loved sitting here and listening, watching. And Thomas, you were instrumental in bringing them in. So congratulations for the cohort.
Well, we're very lucky that there's a lot of great science going on out there. And the companies that came to showcase their progress on our showcase this year was terrific. Now, next year, we will try to make an in-person Metabesity conference. We think, I guess, in Washington, D.C. So we'll have to be specific about how we design the ECS, but we will definitely put out information soon.
Yeah, well, I see a real value in having a showcase. We know there's a showcase at JP Morgan, but it's typically
longevity investor conferences, et cetera.
Yeah, but in this setting, coupled with what happens in the first 3 days, or maybe it'll be 2 for our live meeting, having just these kind of companies show up in person, having the opportunity to meet people like Dennis Purcell and Pepper, and so I think it's just I can see that movie.
Well, I think you need the totality. I mean, it's all of the talking, I guess, amongst ourselves. We're trying to have tractable observations about things that can remove obstacles to translation, but these companies are actually in Teddy Roosevelt's arena trying to make that actual translation happen. So you need to have that content, if you will, as well as the framework that we're all discussing at Metabesity.
Yeah, and I'd like to comment on what I think we started the day with was since last year, there has been enormous progress in the science and just great leaps forward in milestones by each individual company, and just literally a higher caliber of effort and result for that effort. And the other thing is, by bringing these companies together, we reflect upon each other, because again, we are the pioneers in essentially a new field of medicine and longevity medicine, if you will. And we therefore have a steward responsibility. And by being together and watching what each other's doing, kind of in an intimate setting like we created today, we get a chance to be like, wow, that's really an interesting way to do it. And I can learn from that. Or, gosh, I never even thought of it that way. And that's just really powerful and thoughtful, because we get to be a bit creative, because we're writing the script really for this whole space.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you mentioned that early part of our day where Dennis Purcell gave his 3-part analysis of where things are. Yeah. And it's gold. I think everybody should go back and listen to it. It's the kind of thing that happens spontaneously. We weren't even necessarily planning to have that kind of discussion, but it did. And so I advise anybody who's listening to go back and and listen to
Well,
Dennis.
the interplay between Dennis and Phil, who's very,
Yeah.
very knowledgeable about the
Yeah, and Phil
entire field.
brought some great data.
We need to get
about the
hold of his
landscape.
slides and his
Yeah,
analyses.
so I think we need to bring Phil to the conference, not just to moderate, but to give us a in-depth rundown of the landscape.
No, we don't really have a methodical way of measuring or counting all the connections that are made, but anecdotally, for what it's worth, people in the virtual hallways have had light bulbs go off and said they need to get in contact with each other. So I wish we had a way to track everything that happens, but at least anecdotally, we seem to. This is where collaboration happens. It's terrific.
Well, I think we put a lot of messages and bottles in the water, and those bottles will be exchanged and come back, and we will know, but it's going to take a little bit of time. I am curious, are we planning to curate the best of what we saw today and memorialize it in some way?
Well, first of all of the recordings will be made available within about a week. And following precedent from last year, some of the sessions will be join our imprint as ebooks, some of the major large roundtable discussions. But as you say, I think it would be great if we could, it's a question of how much resources we can dedicate to the post-production, to the post-conference. We have to start planning next year as well. But
Yes.
I think that since we bothered to put together this party, we should try to get as much out of the ideas and discussions as possible. So
Yeah.
I think we should do that for sure.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the sessions from yesterday, because the one that is particularly relevant to this cohort is the commercialization session, the epic
The epic.
2.25 hour session, which was so engrossing, the time just zoomed right by. And it was just filled with so many nuggets, insights.
But that was only like 2/3 of commercialization in the morning with Mike Snyder and
yeah, well, that's right. I mean, we focused on devices and that session, which was also terrific.
It really was.
Yeah,
It really was. So
yeah.
how do we want to bring it home?
Well, go ahead, Thomas. I'll follow you.
I have no words of wisdom. I think, as I said before, it's just drinking through a fire hose. So I kind of need to recover for the weekend, sort of think about the things that I heard. And I can't wait to really review the transcripts and the videos. But ask me again in about 2 weeks or 4 weeks.
Well, I just want to first of all thank Pepper for coming specially to moderate this day and for coaching us. Pepper actually is a very accomplished coach and communicator. I think you're not surprised to hear that, but we've taken advantage of it, and we're going to keep doing that. So thank you, Pepper.
It's my pleasure.
And of course, in fact, I hope all the folks in the dining room will come out here. I don't think Christy is here, but
The peanut gallery?
not the peanut gallery, but the people that have made this show come off, along with Bruce and Brian and our Zoomistas. It took a lot of work to bring this off. Thomas, you've been spending 24/7 to a large extent getting things lined up, and so all kinds of thanks are to be given.
And thanks to the audience for sticking with us.
Yeah.
We want to keep bringing this content to everyone. Do our part, all of us. I'm asking everyone listening as well to spread the message that this is a space that's exploding. It's innovative, it's fascinating, and it's got such potential to help people that it's really important what everyone out there is doing.
It really is. I think what we're doing is, in effect, blazing territory. It's not an established paradigm to actually preempt or protect against chronic diseases and other complications of aging. So it's a worthy mission for anybody to be on. And I'm glad we're all in it together.
Well, I hope we can continue these conversations. Maybe we'll see some of you on the virtual campus at Kitalys and in other webinars that we're going to be putting on as Kitalys Institute during the year. And otherwise, please mark your books for October 9, 2023, Native American Day, next year in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely, in person.
All right, so that's a wrap from Harper's Ferry up the river from Washington, D.C. We'll see you in Washington next year.
Bye-bye.
Be healthy.